inviting the attention of the invisible listener and concentrating on the concentrator. That's the key. And the main reason that we give mantra and we do mantra is to slowly, silently, and permanently erase the illusory layers that are covering presence. All this whole thoughts of, I am somebody else. This is my life. These are the things that are happening. These are the things that I need to pay attention to. This is what's very important to me. Mantra, slowly, silently, and permanently, will erase all of these things. And then, as we spoke about, presence will reflect very strongly. You will feel this subtle, just die, just die, just die. Because that's the fire. Maharaj always talks about the fire is burning, but it's covered with the ash. The ash are all the illusory thoughts about me, myself, and all my things that I need to do, my job, my spouse, or my family, or whatever is going on. And mantra, by paying attention to mantra, it erases that slowly, silently, and permanently, where the fire, presence, is burning underneath very brightly. It's burning right now, but the problem is you're distracted by all these illusory layers. And sometimes when the illusory layers are not bothering you, you have that sense of presence. Just like when often it's spoken about when we're in these little sessions together, and people, oh yes, I can feel this very strongly, or afterwards, or anything like this. It's because we're concentrated. There's a direct recognition that, oh, so that I am that. And presence reflecting, when presence is reflecting on the screen of a clear mind, it's literally, like the ant and the magnifying glass, burning away anything that travels between is just burned away. And it's just constant presence. This feeling, this power, this energy, this spirit. And that's the holder of the body. And that is all there is. This that you believe yourself to be is not.
John,
Yes.
I would like to share a couple of things with. One might be useful for Davis till he gets Naam Mantra from you. That first one is when I got Naam Mantra in 2017 October end from Maharaj, I forgot the Naam Mantra the day he gave, but I didn't even notice that I forget that. I started doing that for 1 or 2 weeks. Then in between Maharaj mentioned half part of the mantra during the satsang. Then I realized, okay, this is not the same mantra I'm reciting. But during that 1 or 2 weeks, there was like compared to before receiving the Naam Mantra, the old tendencies suddenly, dropped off, many of them. I don't say completely, at least the change, the understanding from that instant is sometimes I feel, the earnestness, like if you really are seeking that change or, that coming away from your old self, I think that, would drive this thing, than exact mantra. So as you said, maybe Davis, I think, as John has said, if you do whatever the mantras, Shivoham or whatever that John said, I think that would also work, I believe. At least it might not be, complete. Your heart might not accept it 100%. But if you really feel that, okay, this suffering has to be dealt one way or other way, just if you try to do it, definitely that would help. I was really surprised, 1 or 2 weeks I did something, but first 1 week was like, it was like I was in another world. Maybe the outside work is happening, eating is happening, but I was like, okay, these things are happening to me. I'm not doing these things. Kind
Yes.
of, sense was there, even though that mantra was not there. So I believe that sense, was because of the, serious earnestness or whatever that, seriousness to, come out of the oneself.
Absolutely. That is 100% correct. And that's the whole idea. Maharaj has given the example of when a mother is baking and the kids are constantly wanting attention. Well, a mother is trying to bake the dinner. It's impossible to give the kids attention and to bake. So mother gives the kids some toys so that she can concentrate on the baking. And the same is with the mantra. The mantra is given so the mind can keep busy so that you can concentrate on yourself. And this is a beautiful thing because as Rami was mentioning, you're eating or you're walking or you're doing these and you suddenly realize that there's no meditation. You know, there's no mind flow of I am walking or I am doing these things, because this mind flow that would normally attract the attention and say, oh, these are my thoughts. I am walking. This is a beautiful day. No, mind is kept busy with mantra. So walking is happening, speaking is happening, but nothing is happening because there's no experience, no experiencer created in mind, because mind is busy with mantra.
Second thing, John, actually, to speak, I'm very hyperactive. Hyperactive means I get short temper easily. I get like a kindness or whatever that any emotion that's evoked so easily as a person. And there were some old tendencies, maybe eating, like overeating or masturbation or whatever that. So I really struggled to come out of these things. So gradually, when I'm hearing to you, or sometimes when I spoke about these problems with you, I came out of it without much deliberation. Earlier, I tried with deliberation. 1 or 2 months, I might stop, overeating or whatever that, or maybe any other habits. So these days, most of those things without particular effort, those are gone. So I'm just telling you this because I don't want to give you any egoistic sense, but whatever you are speaking, I feel it is coming from the heart, like not just product of your knowledge you acquired.
No, it's your own self speaking to your own self. It's presence speaking with presence using two body forms, because presence is formless and without a body couldn't speak. So the reason they're speaking is communication. Presence is communicating with its own self. This is recognized. There's a recognition in the projection. Oh, so that I am that. And then as you put this into practice, that's the main thing. You say, okay, I know I'm formless. So like you said, when a bad habit comes up, Maharaj uses the example of a spiritual broom. And think about, like right now, in America at least, we're in the fall. So you open the door, leaves blow in the door sometimes because they're falling. So the spiritual broom just brushes those leaves right back outside the door, and you keep your floor nice and clean. And it's the same way. The exact same way. Something comes in the mind of, oh, this is this, or I'd like to do this, or some desire, or some fear. And mantra erases slowly, silently, permanently. Sweeps clean and clear. Emotions come in. Okay, you feel the emotion, but you concentrate, like Maharaj says, you concentrate on the feeler and not the feeling. Sense of presence, to whom this feeling has appeared. But that sense of presence is formless. Therefore, that feeling can't take you off into some imaginary journey because you're formless. So the feeling, okay, feeling is there, but you concentrate on the feeler. Presence, on which this feeling is appearing. Okay, feeling is gone. Why? Because there's no story created with this feeling, because you're formless. And you remain formless. Anytime a stirring occurs, I am somebody else that this thing is happening to. I know that's false. Master has said it's false. I've read the books, it said it's false. I've experienced for my own self at times that it's false. So that just means slowly, silently, permanently, the broom sweeps away. Maharaj gives the example of the antivirus software. He says we have a lot of corrupt files. The corrupt files are, I am somebody. When spirit clicked with the body and you said I, you looked around and you started gaining experience from the perspective of being a person, of being a somebody in a world. So you started storing files called memories of I am a person and these things are happening to me and this is what's going on. This is what needs to be done. And in order to survive in this world, I have to know this and this. And it's all wrong because you're formless. So these wrong files, instead of having this mind go back and kind of search through these files from the wrong perspective, mantra. And mantra is the antivirus software which removes all the viruses, all these false memories from the perception of I am a body in a world and these things are happening to me. All of that is erased. And as these wrong files are removed with the antivirus software, with the mantra, then it's just I, just I. There's no more wrong perceiving, no more wrong perception, no more memories, no more pain and pleasure and all this. Just I, just I. The formless holder of this body for the time that this body can sustain your essence. Now use this body and enjoy. Taking nothing heavy, everything is very light, just like pick up the water, drink the water, put the water back down, because you're formless.
So, yeah, I have mentioned this because, especially, these discourses are helping, and even like some Guru Bandhus are there. Sometimes I talk with them. I attend, their discussion as well. That is also helping, but especially hearing you, cleansing many of my tendencies. If I'm supposed to say. So you no need to. I feel at least I'm giving one more evidence that it would be nice if you give the Naam Mantra. I don't force that you have to do it, but that's I'm sharing my personal experience. My college friends, they one or two people met recently, and they are just surprised the way I'm behaving. So significant change is coming.
Yes.
So yeah, that's right. If your heart says that okay, the people who are serious, they need the Naam Mantra, then you can try to give the Naam Mantra.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, Maharaj was very specific. In 2016, he said, when I go back to India, you guide them. And that I very much understood. The whole idea of Naam Mantra, I didn't make let's give Naam Mantra or anything like that. There have been many indicators from Selfless Self through the WhatsApp feed. Various folks have asked about that. Why are you not giving mantra? And this and that. And there have been other people who have asked, and people who've watched our videos on YouTube and said, oh, we would like to have mantra. So I truly believe that yes, mantra can be given. And after COVID, we can try to make some kind of arrangements for something. I don't know exactly what. We'll see how Selfless Self manifests itself in doing this. But there was a while that I kind of hesitated because that's something I'm not trying to pretend to be Maharaj. Maharaj is this, is that I am, that's using this body form to speak. And The same thing would be done if it happens spontaneously, then this would be good. It has to be in person because truly, in my own experience, it's very powerful to have the hand on the head and whispering the mantra and then walking around as you are in the form, walking around, and as you're dissolving the form within your own self that's been given the mantra. And of course, too, like Maharaj says, you have to be serious with the mantra. You have to take it seriously. It's like you've been given a brick of gold. And you have to treat it like such. And that's why Maharaj gives the story of the person who was given the gem. This is in Selfless Self. And the person is given the gem and told, oh, go and find the value of this. And they go to his mother, and his mother says, oh, it's probably 1 or 2 rupees. And then goes to the next area where there's a jeweler. And this jeweler looks at it and he says, probably 200-300 rupees. So then he goes to the next town, which is a little bit larger, and he asks that person, oh, how much for this? He says, wow, probably 1,000 rupees. Then he decides to go into like Mumbai, some big place. And there's a large jewelry store there. He walks in to the owner, and the owner looks at it and he says, my God, you could buy my entire store with this gem. And this story shows how the value is. It's the same thing. It's the mantra. If you take it as, okay, this is another mantra to add to my collection, this is not good. If you take it as, this is a mantra that now I can say, I have taken the lineage mantra of the Inchegiri Navnath Sampradaya, the same one that Nisargadatta Maharaj, who wrote, who has the book, I Am That. This is also not so good in that way. If you understand that your formless presence, God, Brahman, Paramatman, Master, the labels that have been given to that you are, has given this mantra from one form into its own self in another form, so that both forms will be removed and you will meet formlessly. Formlessly meaning the mantra erases slowly, silently, and permanently all the wrong files. So you are clean and clear, and presence reflects without any kind of disturbance, because your attention, just like the mother who's cooking dinner, mother is able to make dinner because the kids, the mind, is playing with the toys.
When it comes to the when you're actually listening to it, or sometimes I feel like as I've been using mantra during the day, sometimes it seems like there's more effort involved. Is that a bad thing? Or, I guess I'm trying to say, it's like sometimes I'm listening to mantra versus sometimes it's like I need to not forcefully, but with more intent, enunciate it against the other mental noise. Did you experience that? Or
This is okay, yeah. I mean, you concentrate on mantra, you keep with mantra. And even we talk about a broom. So what you just said, when the mental noise is kind of heavy, then there seems to be a sense that I am now doing mantra. Whereas before I was just listening to it running, but now I'm actually doing it. But that's okay because you're sweeping. You're sweeping these thoughts, and rather than get caught up in the thoughts, you're sort of training your mind, okay, mantra. When these thoughts are coming so much, we concentrate on mantra, and that erases them. So this is fine. And and as Maharaj says, in the beginning, the mind will rebel. He gives the example of Nisargadatta Maharaj and the tenants.
Yep.
And this story is exactly like what you're experiencing. Okay, the tenants are abusing you. And
Yeah.
so you continue with mantra. You just remain with mantra. And as we've said, as Maharaj has said, mantra are words. I know in the very beginning with Selfless Self and a lot of the things that were going on, the mantra was very heavily stressed. But Maharaj would always, because this is an illusory world, the mantra is illusory. Yet, this is a tool for you to know your own selfless self. But the mantra are words. And Sri Ramakant Maharaj would say, you can have Soham, Shivoham, Aham Brahmasmi. I think that's about it. But there were others, and not to get so hung up on the words. Because remember, words came along with the body, which you were not. All words are given by man once you come to the body. Oh, this is a word. Because formlessly, you can't speak a word. You're prior to the first word.
Sir, what does it mean by the world is seer's reflection?
The world is the seer's reflection. All of this appears on your spontaneous presence. The seer is formless.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically, if you were to say that the consciousness, if we use this word,
Mm-hmm.
if you were to say the consciousness is within this mind, that's the world. Yet you're formless. You see, everything is just, it's a spontaneous projection. And the more you step forward, it reflects. There's if you're remaining with mantra and you're inviting the attention of the invisible listener, then this formlessness, this selfless self, you're pleasing yourself. You're spending time with you. Think about what it talks about God being a jealous God. If you're out there roaming around and looking for all the different various things, rather than paying attention to this subtle sense of presence, cultivating it, and allowing it to grow, then you're getting caught up in it. The seer is not in body form. It's formless seer. And all of this form is within your own self. Just like the space in the room, we've spoken. This body, dead. Just not even dead, because there's no birth, no death. So let's just say it's just a lump of flesh, bones, and blood. And then the space in the room clicks, looks around and says, oh, look at this world. Or, I exist. Now, you're going to forget that you're the space because the space didn't know itself as space. So now you have this body and you look around and you see all of this stuff. All of these things. But you're basically looking inside your own self because, again, you're the space in the room. And the space in the room is within this room. It's outside this room, separated only by walls, just like this body. So now I believe, because I know I exist, that I exist as this. And I don't know I exist as this space because there's a total disconnection there. I know myself for the first time in this body form, and I see all these things. Now, after some time, someone comes to me and says, you're the space in the room. You're not this body form. Now I need to investigate this. Is this true? So I have complete faith and trust in the master. And I sit there and okay, how am I the space in this room? Master says, remain with your selfless self. Mantra. Erase all these thoughts about how you're seeing and understand, who am I? Am I this body form? Master says I'm the space in the room, not this body form. So now I have to investigate. And in investigation, I'm actually going to put it into practice. Okay, if I was the space in this room, then these things that appear to be happening in this room are actually happening within myself. So there's no need to get concerned about this. And then I remain. Master says meditation. Okay, in meditation. In meditation, this mind that was previously trained to look outward is told by Master to look inward. And in looking inward, there seems to be an understanding that the objects in the room, when I'm looking inward, I can see these objects also. They were called thoughts. And there's something that sees this without the use of a body. And there's this subtle, subtle presence. And Master says, this subtle, subtle presence is actually the space that you are, but because it's in body form, the body is a media so you can know yourself in a real sense. You are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain the body. Body is not your identity. And now I know. I'm not the body, I'm the space in the room. If at all I want to compare, I compare myself to sky or space. This is a lump of flesh. It's not me. And therefore, whether this lump of flesh is here or not, I am. And I'm here before the body, after the body, and during the body. I don't change because I'm formless. Like Maharaj says, the formless holder of the body. The entire world exists or is projected on spontaneous presence and is the seer's reflection.
Is there one world? I I I guess what I'm like, is it almost like a hologram where there's an infinite number of people, an infinite number of worlds, one presence animating and flowing through it all.
Dream.
Yeah.
Dream is the best example because here you are in this body, you lay down, there's like no sense of yourself, we call that deep sleep.
Yep.
Then there's a stirring of yourself, I exist, and a dream world is projected. And all the dream characters and the sun and all the grass and everything that's in the dream is coming from yourself, but you're formless. Of course, you know this because when you wake up, you know, oh, that was just a dream. So all of this was projected. And not only projected, but as Maharaj says, there's video shooting going on because when you wake up from the dream, you say, I had a very good dream or I had a very bad dream, or these are the things I saw in my dream. And so there was something that was watching the dream, even the dream character that was in the dream. And now we know, okay, so I can see this. And yet my body is just laying there. This is all within the consciousness. All of the formlessness has created form and is animating and moving it about. If I have a conversation with you in my dream, we're only one. Even though it appears in the dream that there's two conversing, it's all coming from your own self. And now, one step closer, remove the body, because you are not body, you were not body, You're not going to remain the body. So the formlessness that is creating the experience that you are currently experiencing, the body-based illusion of existence, is also within your selfless self. There is no difference between waking, so-called consciousness, which is what we believe we're in right now, talking and all speaking with each other, and dream consciousness. There is just one consciousness. It is the projection from I exist, spontaneous projection.
I had an interesting experience with my dream this morning. Fortunately, I don't work or anything. I have time when I wake up in the morning to just let whatever shows up, and to look at my dreams and sort of feel them out. But the one dream I did sort of remember when I woke was I was dreaming that I thought that it was important that this, I didn't know what the object was. It was just kind of like a nebulous object, but that this object was in the proper position and being stored, like for time's sake, for future use or whatever. That it was being stored in its place, and I just got that feeling that it was. And then the dream shifted, and then I was no longer sure that the thing was being stored in the proper place. But then the dream sort of recognized that it didn't really. It could just as well be in the same place it was being stored in, but even if I wasn't sure, it didn't really make any difference whether it was definitely known to be stored in the exact same place or not. So when I was looking at that dream, what it was telling me was that there is no difference. That in reality, it doesn't really matter what I think or experience. Kind of everything is here anyway, and it's just everything's in its proper place, kind of like. And I don't know, it just made me feel really like at home, or it made me feel like, it was like the dream was sending me a message of, things are all well, just as they are, whatever. So sometimes dreams can, I don't always recognize a message of a dream, but sometimes I do. I've developed sort of a rapport with my dreams, and sometimes I do get these a sense of what did like one time I remember in the past I was talking about my dreams, and I had this feeling that there was no difference between my dream reality and my waking reality.
And that's the truth.
Things like that.
That's the absolute truth. There's only one consciousness. Right now, you're having the dream of a waking state because you're believing you're a body named Keith. Then, see, once you know yourself in a real sense, and as we spoke about, the mind stops, because the mind is sort of there just to kind of direct you to your own self. Well, you're here now, so that's it. And now there's just scenes that come before you. You do what he's doing, and it's gone. But you know yourself as formless. There's no longer a life. There's no longer my life. They're just scenes and spontaneous actions. And that's it. And then one day there won't be spontaneous action, because you'll return to your normal state, which will not have this body-based illusion of experiencing. You need a body to experience. Well, you're not actually experiencing, but within the body-based illusion or the waking dream, you're experiencing. When the body is no more, you'll no longer experience. Basically, you'll wake up from this dream of being something in a world. That's what we should most likely interpret. Okay, when this body is no more and everything I've ever done was never done because it was just like a dream. The dream of Keith is over. Okay, bye-bye, Keith. Dream of John is over. Okay, bye-bye, John. But I remain. I won't be dreaming John anymore. And all the other characters will say, oh, John's dead. Well, John wasn't alive. John wasn't born. John isn't dead.
It's like what is ever really here? My
Nothing.
normal, yeah, my mind though gets the idea that the things that are passing and all that, the scenes and stuff, that gets the idea somehow, I guess due to memory, that that's what's ever here. But actually, I don't, anything that has to be constantly maintained or repeated or can't be ever really its own self, because it has to be it has to get some idea that it is being maintained, and it can't be maintained because everything changes, or it's just not really, I guess it's just not real at all.
Well, not everything changes. You don't change. You're formless.
Yeah, but I mean everything.
You're formless prior to the body-based illusion. You're formless during the body-based illusion, and you'll be formless after the body-based illusion. You are that. There's no form at all. Nothing's happening, nothing's ever happened, and nothing will ever happen because you're formless.
It's hard
Absolutely.
It's hard to get used to, but I feel myself gradually getting used to that idea.
Yeah, well, this self that feels needs to go because it's the power that is creating the feeling. But you're the feeler. That's why Maharaj says, remove the feeling and concentrate on the feeler. Concentrate on the concentrator. See, this isn't something that needs to be like, I need to find out how I am this. You remain with your selfless self. As Nisargadatta Maharaj says, you remain with the I am and all the answers. The I am, when it's pleased with you, meaning you're remaining with the I am, as we talked about, God is a jealous God. If you're out there searching for 100,000 different things, you'll miss yourself. But if you're really worshiping and spending time with your own selfless self, all these, it just disappears. The concept of a world, it won't make sense. It's almost laughable because how could any of this have actually been true? You're formless. Again, the space in the room, the aliveness, the power, the energy, that's the reality. The objects in the room, and you can say, if this whole house, God forbid, was demolished, the space inside the house and the space outside the house would merge, so to speak, but it's the same now. It's only separated by these walls, and that is just like this body. If we talked about the air, I breathe in air, it's in my body. Now I say it's my air. I breathe it out, it's everybody's air. But then Keith breathes it in, it's his air. But it's air, it's just air. It's just coming in and going out. And even, this is just an empty, it's nothing. It's nothing, nothing, nothing. And our whole family, that's why Maharaj says, don't get caught up in your whole body relations. All needs, all requirements came along with the body. The family is a body factory. Two get together, create a lump of goo. This lump of goo has a label of Keith or John or Jordan. And then the mom and dad, whose labels you now have because they gave, oh, this is mom, this is dad. They say, okay, John, you're doing great things. You're doing not so good things. Eat all your vegetables, John. Do this, John. You're seeing a world and all this. And eventually you will grow up, so to speak, which is just this lump of goo. That's why Maharaj talks about the food body. You're eating, The food is growing, the body is growing from the food that you're eating. So you're basically this little lump of goo that grows. You're a plant, basically, you know. There's no difference between you and the plant. You're growing, but it's the formlessness, it's the energy, it's the power that believes I'm growing. And that's why they always talk about, Maharaj will say, young man to middle-aged man to old man, you know, child, young man, middle-aged man, old man. But presence isn't aging. You're looking at yourself in the mirror. Well, that's the same self that was looking at yourself in the mirror when you were 5, when you were just starting to shave at like 12 or 13 or whatever, when you're growing older. And as you grow even older, you're not growing older. It's this lump of goo, food body, and eventually the food body will deteriorate, as all things in the 5 elemental world do. Nothing lasts in the 5 elements. All of everything. We see this. You know, trees, they can grow to be 400 years old, but eventually they either fall down, they rot, they go back to the 5 elements. Everything within the 5 elemental world, and this is a 5 elemental body, which, as Maharaj rightly says, you're renting. It's not yours. The rental is the term that you call life. The life that you're living and the life you're experiencing within this body-based illusion, the illusion of experiencing. And once this rental is up, when the body can no longer sustain the essence, you have to give it back. Give it back to the 5 elements. But you're not going anywhere. You weren't born. You won't die. Nothing can ever happen to you. You are not body. You were not body. You're not going to remain the body. Body is not your identity. You're formless.
It's like the formlessness is real, but the forms are not.
Well, the forms come and go. Formlessness does not. And even formlessness, and let's not make this into a concept.
Right.
Formlessness is the absence of all attributes. There's nothing. That's why Maharaj rightly says, something came out of nothing, goes back to nothing. But the something only appeared for a time, called a life, while you're renting this body and able to experience this body-based illusion. And then you do your job, do your duties. It's a very good role. You're playing this role of John or of Keith, but you're not taking the touch. You're going about spontaneous actions in the moment. Scenes are coming before you, and nothing is so pressing. Naturally, peace arising, because it's the mind flow of I am somebody else that's disturbing the peace in the first place. Without this I am somebody else idea, there is no disturbance. Because how is the formlessness going to think about any disturbance about itself? We just said, you can't be cut. You can't be burned. You can't be separated. You can't be nothing. Like nothing can happen to you. And if at all you want to compare yourself to sky or space. And every time you have the notion that my mind needs to figure this out, remember, you supply power to the mind. Wouldn't the power be better off served remaining with your selfless self?
I can see where I um, I'm sort of convinced that I can see what you're saying, but then my mind says that it's helping me by putting it into words. It's helping me to embed it in my, somehow helps me get used to the idea that it's like I'm turning my conceptual sense against itself, but and making myself more free of the concepts. But it can't work that way, I guess.
No, as a matter of fact, the mind is robbing you. Your attention is needed for the mind to exist. So the mind says, I think Ramana Maharshi talked about hiring the thief to catch the thief.
Yeah.
And you say, whoa, you know,
Yeah,
we
that's
need to catch
exactly
this thief. And a guy comes to you and he says, hey, I'll help you catch this thief. But that's what the mind, your whole concept of this mind, I need to use the mind to remove the mind. Well, the mind enjoys this very much because
Yeah.
it's like, look at you. You're giving me all this power and energy to search for the thief, and I'm the thief. The thief has to be removed.
Yeah.
And the only words, truly, that a devotee should have in mind is mantra. Every time I'd like to interpret this dream, or I'd like to get more into what this means, that's why Master says all the time, don't try and interpret the words of the masters. Don't get hung up on the words. The only words that you should have is the mantra. That's it. And every time you think about thinking, mantra. And the beautiful part is, it's the reality. If you really do this, if the next time your habit is to go to mind to figure it out, you remain with mantra, eventually mind loses all the energy you've been giving it, and it just goes away.
It's that broom, the broom. Yeah.
Exactly. And then at the time when you're concentrated on presence, because see, figuring it out will never, ever, ever clear the screen, because there'll always be more things on the screen to clear.
Yeah. That's that. What I sometimes I've talked about infinite regression. It's like
It's
a
like
hall
the
of mirrors.
squeegee.
It's like a hall of mirrors.
It's like the squeegee. If you get stopped your car and some guy says he'll clean your car for $2 and he uses the oldest, nastiest squeegee on your windshield, that's what it's like using the mind to try and figure things out. It's the homeless guy squeegeeing your windshield and making it 1,000 times. Now you can't even see through the windshield. And that's why, because you're getting caught up in concepts, caught up in mind. Mantra, remain with your selfless self. The reason the mantra is there is so that the screen will be clear. It will actually be clear. The mirror will be a perfect reflection of your own selfless self. Oh, so that I am that. And now, anytime that there's a thought otherwise, remain with your selfless self. But I can guarantee you that if you're trying to find yourself with mind, the reflection of presence will never be. Never. You might have times where you say, oh, I feel this presence. But then you say, oh, I feel this presence, give it to mind, and then you start to interpret, and boom, it's blocked again. Again, you have the guy with the squeegee.
Yeah.
The moment your windshield is clear, the mind says, would you like your windshield clear? Oh, yes, please, go ahead. And back to not being able to see through the windshield again. Finally, you get it clear again, and you say, oh, but what about this? Or I like to do this, or it helps me with this. And he's squeegeeing your windshield again. You can't see again.
And the mind loves to take credit for things.
Well, remember, there is no such thing as mind. You call it mind because of the flow of thoughts that you believe are inside your head, but you are not body, so these thoughts are not inside your head. They're just thoughts flowing. And your identification with this body as my thoughts create this concept of a thinker that is not. There is no thinker. There is no thinking. There's none of this. It's just misidentification. When you identify yourself perfectly, these thoughts won't be.
And I look at the world and I think, well, everybody's making the same mistake that I'm making. But
Well, no, remember, when immediately you say, there's a thought that comes, I look at I'm not thinking anymore because there is no thinker. So why should I create an illusory thinker to think this thought that doesn't matter? Instead, I'll remain with my selfless self.
Sir, in today's session, it's appeared, so easily. This ease or beingness. It is always there. So earlier, I was trying to understand what is this easiness. There was effort to label with this thing with the help of mind, but no need to do anything.
No.
Just be. That's it. Whenever mind is coming, speaking, but see that you are just beingness. Just be. That's it.
Yep.
No need to go and label again. This is I.
Correct.
Just be.
Remain with your selfless self. Be with you always, Maharaj says. This is that.
Okay. Be with yourself. Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank
Jai
you.
Guru.
Thank you, John.
Jai Guru.